The Lord be with you. I invite you to rise at this time for the proclamation of the gospel, which comes to us from St. Luke, the 6th chapter. Looking at his disciples, Jesus said, "Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you will be satisfied. Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. Blessed are you when people hate you, when they exclude you and insult you and reject your name as evil because of the Son of Man. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, because great is your reward in heaven. For that is how their ancestors treated the prophets. But woe to you who are rich, for you have already received your comfort. Woe to you who are well fed now, for you will go hungry. Woe to you who laugh now, for you will mourn and weep. Woe to you when everyone speaks well of you, for that is how their ancestors treated the false prophets. But to you who are listening, I say, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. If someone slaps you on one cheek, turn to them the other also. If someone takes your coat, do not withhold your shirt from them. Give to everyone who asks you, and if anyone takes what belongs to you, do not demand it back. Do to others as you would have them do to you." The good news, the gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. I invite you to be seated. I kind of enjoy this first reading from Daniel, especially this time of year in this week when we celebrated Halloween. I don't know, when you hear the word beasts, what images does that conjure up for you? I mean, Daniel, in his dream, is visited by 4 beasts that terrorize him. I don't know, did you have any beasts come to your door on Thursday night? Or come to your house trick-or-treating? Did the zombie apocalypse happen this week? I don't know. It kind of almost sounds like that's what Daniel's referring to. The images that terrorized him in his dream. These beasts. I don't know if you're terrorized by images of beasts. But see, Daniel was living among people in the 2nd century BC, 200 years before Jesus. And they were suffering. They were an oppressed people. They had been suffering for a long time. See, the Israelite people rarely know freedom. They were always being conquered by somebody. And Daniel is trying to talk to his people about their situation, where they're suffering, where they're having heavy burdens put on them, where they don't feel free, where their worship has been taken from them. I mean, it had gotten so bad in Daniel's day that the Greek ruler, Antiochus IV, had come into the Jerusalem temple and had placed a statue of Zeus on the holy altar to Yahweh God. The people were so angry over the desecration of their temple. It would be like, whose picture would you put up here? An elected person, a celebrity, a god, a beast? What picture would you put up here? That was what their experience was. See, they had, for 4 generations, 400 years, had lived under oppression as suffering people. And the 4 beasts that Daniel says in his dream rise up out of the chaos of the sea, where creation forms itself from, these winds whipping creation into being. And it is 4 kingdoms that rise up out of the earth. And it is the 4 kingdoms that have brought suffering to the Israelite people. Babylon, Persia, Medea, and now the Greeks, and Daniel, listening to his people crying out in their suffering, is trying to bring them consolation. And he says, yes, these kings have the faces of beasts, and they devour us and our families and our people. But our promise from our God is that the holy ones, the faithful ones, we will receive the kingdom promised to us. Not just today, but forever and ever. I mean, I don't know how the people of his day received that message. They were suffering. I mean, they were wondering, how can we be relieved from this suffering? Do we put our trust in armies or in our elected officials or in our wealth or in our families? Who do we trust to free us from our oppression? They're given a message to stay faithful and to be the holy ones of God. It's a difficult message to receive. It chafes us, perhaps, to think that we're being called individually to remain in a difficult situation as chaos is running around us. I mean, I don't know if any of you listened to the news this morning, but as I was driving in, I heard them talking about the fact that there are more protests going on in the world today than in any precedented time. It's not just one section of the world. It's not just one cluster of nations. It's every corner of the world right now. People are crying out through protests against politicians and political systems and oppression and the division of wealth. People are crying out as they experience this chaos that takes over their lives. I don't know if that's your experience, that there are beasts in your midst that trouble your dreams, that keep you from feeling safe, that keep you from feeling like you are free. And if you are, you know the hearts of the Israelite people, and you know the hearts of many, many people in our world today. So what does it mean to be a holy one of God? And what is this kingdom that is promised forever and ever and ever to the holy ones of God? It's not easily answered, especially when we feel suffering. Maybe we don't feel blessed or holy. But I think this is exactly what Luke was trying to answer in this gospel passage today. In chapter 6, he's sitting with his congregation, looking out into their eyes. And I don't know if you noticed the way he tells this sermon from Jesus to his people. He speaks to them personally. Blessed are you when you weep. Blessed are you when you mourn. Blessed are you when you are poor. Blessed are you when you are oppressed. He's looking into their eyes, and he knows their hearts. And he knows that pain. And I can only imagine those who are hearing that. For any of you who are mourning, for any of you who feel poor, for any of you who are weeping, or feel put down, or shut out, or ostracized, or marginalized right now, it's hard to hear somebody say to you, you're blessed. Especially when the people sitting across the aisle from you are rich and laughing and well-dressed and educated and wishing you weren't there. It's hard to feel blessed in that situation. But I think the truth of it is not for the day. The truth is for what that kind of suffering becomes. Because see, it's not just a blessing for the individual, it's a blessing for the community. It's how the kingdom of God gets manifest in the Christian community, because this is the response to suffering and oppression. It is the Christian community. And what difference do we make? Those of you who are suffering today, who are mourning today, who feel poor today, you will have the capacity to bring compassion to those who today are laughing, and who today are wealthy, and who today are rich, and whose things that they have put trust in will be washed away because it's all temporary. And that's what that woe is. It's not a curse. He's not putting them down. He's saying, yikes, look out, be ready, because that stuff will go away. You will know mourning. You will know sorrow. You will know poverty. You will know powerlessness. And most often we don't get to choose it. Then who will you turn to? Then who will show you the love of God? Then who will help to comfort your hearts except those people who today are suffering? They will be the ones who will walk with you because they will know your heart and your condition. That is the essence of empathy. That is what makes the Christian community a model in the world. We transform the world when we show love from our own suffering. The suffering doesn't go away, but it informs us, makes us into holy people, together lifted up, walking in the midst of that together, not knowing what tomorrow will bring, but certainly not letting the chaos of the world determine who we are or how we are with each other. But it is the love of the one who comes to us in this sacrament, who comes to us through this sign, the love poured from this cross that fills us, that changes us, that informs who we are with each other. You know, Luke says, what does it mean to be a holy one? Let me take the guesswork out of it for you. He says, love your enemies. Love your enemies. Don't curse them. Don't seek vengeance. Don't retaliate. Love. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. If someone slaps you on your cheek, turn the other. It's not that we become doormats. It's not that we invite abuse. It's that we don't return violence with violence. That's not who we are. That just leaves a broken world. We bring instead compassion and strength to those situations. You know, if we think that this is impossible, if we think about why would we act this way, let us just for 1 second consider what it means to receive the kingdom of God forever and ever and ever. The only way that that can be true is if it's God's promise, and if we keep our minds focused on the next 7 generations. You know, what's the great sin of our day? Is that we live in the moment, we consume in the moment, we make decisions in the moment. When we are being asked by our God, by these scriptures, by Christ, to think about those 7 generations from now. How will they receive our legacy? How will they know the kingdom of God if you and I today, together, don't choose to live in it, to express it, to be the holy ones we're called to be, the saints of God, walking in the midst of our suffering and sin together, seeking the strength of this sacrament. Let us together build the kingdom, the 7th generation.